Hey, channel members! What's up? It's your Detective here, investigating your favorite TV shows, and today I'm going to be doing a quick TV show review on Loki Season 2. So I'm doing a quick review once again because I need to go to work again, and I'm going to be late again. But anyways, Loki Season 2 is the new Marvel TV show Marvel TV season, and it's Loki. Yeah! So... Marvel TV shows, it's not a good combination, really. I mean, ever since they started pumping out TV shows in, what was it, Era 4 or Phase 4, pretty much all the TV shows were disappointing, in my opinion. WandaVision is the first one that came out, and I really don't like using this word, but it's mid. And then we have the boring ones like Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Secret Invasions, which are incredibly boring. Moon Knight and Miss Marvel are really overrated in my opinion, as it hashes out the same cliche plot points and shitty humor again and again and again and again and again. And of course we have Hawkeye, which is a huge underwhelming mess, and She-Hulk is easily the worst thing that Marvel has ever released. So Marvel TV shows, not really good. And aside from TV shows, Marvel movies have also been on a huge decline. The new Marvel movie, The Marvels, I haven't seen, I'm not planning on seeing soon either, is Marvel's worst box office to date. So at this point in time, Marvel is on a decline. However, if there's one TV show from Marvel that caught my attention, it would be Loki. When Loki was released a couple years ago, it was a really fun new spin to the superhero genre, and it is definitely a surprise for me because it's not really a superhero story anymore. It's not following the same action adventure sort of story archetype anymore. It's more of a fun time travel puzzle solving series, and it's actually a really refreshing change of pace. We don't have huge CGI fights anymore, and it's still more interesting than most other Marvel stories in my opinion, just because of all the time travel aspect and all the cool quirky stuff that they come up with. This show is in a league of its own. It doesn't even feel like Marvel. If this isn't Marvel related, if you swap Loki out with just some random character and just like all the characters just gets replaced and the story stays the same, it would work well as a time travel mini series. It would work really, really well. So it doesn't even feel like Marvel for me. So season 1 of Loki was definitely a huge surprise, and it's so good that it is renewed for a season 2, and quite possibly the final season of Loki, the second and final season of Loki, and it only has 6 episodes. And you know what? I like that it only has 6 episodes. I think it is very tightly packed. So as a result, there are no fillers here. No fillers, all killers. So yeah, call me a pleb, but I actually kind of enjoyed this. I actually kind of enjoyed Loki Season 2. Episode 1 starts things off with Loki time slipping, which is just a cool way of saying he accidentally time traveled here and there. And yeah, I think this time slipping thing lowered the stakes a little bit, because at the end of season 1 it almost feels like Loki's at an alternate timeline and everything's changed and everything's crazy. But really, it's not like that. So it sort of lowers the stakes a little bit, but still it is a solid opening episode. It also lets itself fail, and that's something I really admire Loki, that other Marvel movies don't do usually. Other Marvel movies and shows takes things very, very safe, but Loki lets itself fail. The characters fail constantly. They fail doing what they're trying to do, and they give up, and it's sad. And I actually kind of appreciate that. Now we have episodes 2 and 3, which are very low rated on IMDb for some reason. Maybe it's because it's not action packed, maybe it's because it's kind of weird and quirky and full of redundancies, but I really enjoyed it. Episode 2 is a 1950s and 1980s American nostalgia. There's a time jump between episodes 1 and 2, which was sort of confusing, but it didn't really matter to me because I like that they're not wasting any time. We are introduced to Kei Hui Kwan as Ouroboros, who is the exposition character. He just explains all the weird science shit. But usually a character like this is annoying. It's a dumb plot device, but I forgive him. It's Ki Hui Kwan, you know? I forgive him. And also later in the story, his character is actually given a lot more depth, so that's really cool. The story does get a little roundabout, but the show has fun while it's at it. We have episode 3 where the gang goes to 1890 Chicago, and by the gang I mean Tom Hiddleston as Loki and Owen Wilson as Mobius. They go to 1890s Chicago, and it's fun. Yeah, it's not like a huge, explosive, climactic story or anything, but it is a fun set piece. It's very fun, and the cinematography is nice. And I've never said this about a Marvel anything before, but the cinematography is not bad. It's in general way more stylistic and way more competent than most other Marvel movies and shows. So it really has its fun. We're introduced to Victor Timely, which is a variant of He Who Remains, aka Conqueror, and we have Jonathan Majors playing this really quirky guy who stutters and the time loom. It's funny. It's fun. It's fun seeing him act like that. We also have Renslayer and Miss Minutes, the antagonists, working together, trying to make Victor Timely the second He Who Remains, I guess, is what they're trying to do. And yeah, it's a little roundabout, but I enjoyed it. There's this side story of Miss Minutes having a weird crush on Victor Timely and wanting a human body instead of being just a floating clock. And a lot of people think it's weird. I find it very interesting. I think it's a very interesting storyline that could be explored. I wish Miss Minutes would actually get a human body and destroy everything and wreak havoc. I think that would make for an amazing season finale. But they never really did that. Loki wish they did. Okay, but yeah, you know, maybe Miss Minutes will come back in the future in some Marvel movies as a villain with a human body this time. But I legit think it's a very interesting idea. Then we have episodes 4 to 6, and oh my god, the writers of Loki really outdid themselves. They really didn't need to go this hard, because if Loki season 2 is a story with 3-act structure, episode 1 and 2 is act 1, episode 3 is act 2, and act 3, the climax, is episodes 4, 5, and 6. It's just non-stop. Episodes 4, 5, and 6 is just a non-stop roller coaster ride, and it's a one large climax, and that's great. It feels like it's a very weird comparison, but it feels like an anime finale. Like an anime series finale usually goes above and beyond and is like just 10 episodes of non-stop fighting and life and death experiences, and Loki is almost doing the same thing. It's honestly kind of refreshing. We have episode 4 that really builds a lot of tension, really a lot of stakes are very high, and there are lots of moments that sort of loops back to episode 1 in terms of time travel, which again, it's not gonna mean much in the grander scheme of things. Like that scene where Sylvie's stuck in the elevator and the phone's ringing, and it's kind of this weird liminal space moment, but it's fun, and it's like the series dark but less serious, and I mean it in the best way possible. Then we have episode 5, which is essentially a huge detour. In the grander schemes, again, it doesn't really mean anything. If you know, you know, but we visit a bunch of alternate timelines, and it's this weird, surreal moment where everyone's just having normal lives, and I like that. I like that it's showing a different side of the story and is constantly trying to be refreshing. And then we have episode 6, which is just this really epic ending. It goes really hard. The writers did not pull back any punches, and it just keeps undoing itself and reinventing itself. And again, I'm trying my best to be vague because I would step into spoiler alerts, but oh my god, literally reinvents itself. Like the narrative of Loki, the entire TV show, basically folds on top of itself and constantly reinvents itself to the point where I've never seen MCU do that. I've never seen a Marvel story basically reinvent itself. And I don't mean it like, oh, Avengers Endgame with the time travel. No. It's still time travel, but it literally uses its own narrative against itself, and it constantly reinvents itself. It's insane. It's at some point it felt like Groundhog Day. If you know, you know. I guess that's a huge spoiler already, but yeah, what Loki did was just above and beyond, and it's a no bullshit ending. No post credit scene, nothing. There are moments of humor here and there in the show, but it never compromises the story at all. And it's the real deal. It's really refreshing. But of course, this show isn't great without some cons. First of all, Renslayer and Miss Minutes character arcs just end abruptly. They never get any redemption, they don't get a crazy conclusive ending either, they just fail at the end. So they're just gone. Time slipping doesn't really get explained actually, because the TVA, there's no time in the TVA. So time slipping still makes no sense. If there's no time, how do you jump back and forth in time in the TVA? That does not make a lot of sense. But I think furthermore, earlier in the story, it's already proven that this cannot be time travel because TVA is outside of time. So how do you time travel around TVA and go back in time? And it doesn't really make a lot of sense, does it? Another issue is that it's too American, I guess. I mean, it's Marvel. Marvel has always been too American, but it's just really stuck. We have, again, episode 5, where we see alternate timelines and people living normal lives, but they're all American, and they're all somewhere between the 1980s and 2023. It's just that it's too safe and too convenient, you know? There are some cheesy lines here and there, some dialogues that aren't really well thought out, but again, I don't care. It's just the fun weighs more than the cheesiness and the campiness, you know? And if there's one more thing, it would be that at some point it's really confusing, especially given that Renslayer and Miss Minutes wanted to take over TVA because they're power hungry, but the ultimate goal is to save the TVA from being completely destroyed. Loki's trying to save the TVA. And it's like, what's so difficult to understand? The thing you want to take over is about to be destroyed. Like, if you just listen to what Loki has to say, you'd be like, okay, let me join your team. This is such a weird conflict. But again, I think this is a really fun show. It's really refreshing and something that Marvel just desperately needs, I think. I'm feeling a decent to strong 8 on this thing. Yeah. So, have you watched Loki Season 2? Comments below, let me know. Subscribe if you want more. Thanks for watching.